Hello, and today we're going to be looking at album number 12 in the Pink Floyd Discography, The Final Cut. And after The Wall was released in its highly successful nature and tour and stage show and everything, there was always that thing of how does Pink Floyd follow that up? And from Atom Heart Mother until The Wall, it followed up every album, every masterpiece with another masterpiece. That I think the bar got set so high that when Pink Floyd went into studio to record The Final Cut, there was already issues. The cracks were there. Rick Wright's gone. David Gilmour and Roger Waters are just constantly at each other. Nick Mason, I believe, is just there. And it's funny. And then you bring in guys like Michael Caine and John Guthrie in this to help Roger Waters. That even in future years, Pink Floyd members, Gilmour's, Wright and Mason kind of referred to this as a de facto Roger Waters solo album, very much in the same vein as The Wall. Now, the thing about this is all this material was written at the same time as The Wall, and Gilmour has come out and said that he would have rather gone another direction, and that's why he never put a writing credit to it, which this is the only Pink Floyd album I believe to be completely 100% Roger Waters. And listening to this and listening to what came up from Waters, this continues the same vein, and I'll get more into that at the end of the video. This is also another album that does not have Storm Thorgerson, and I think that is an absolute shame. I bet you if Waters and them could have gone back, because Waters did the artwork for the album, I think if he could have went back and redid it, I think he would have brought in Storm Thorgerson. I think it would have freshened up, maybe caught more people's eyes with the album cover, and at least got a few more sales out of it that way. Now, looking at this album, and how do you follow it up? And it's funny looking at it from afar is that when you're listening to this in albums, is that this is a Pink Floyd album I've heard people talk about quite a bit as a Pink Floyd fan. There is always a mix of people on this. They either really love it or they fucking hate it. And that is very, I think, putting it kind, because I know there's Pink Floyd fans that hate this album. But let's see my thoughts on it. Now, this album starts out very much like The Wall, where The Wall had that kind of like soft opening. You have something in the background. This one starts off with cars in the background, TV screen, like somebody sitting down watching TV, and then has some great Roger Waters lyrics in there. Tell me true, tell me why was Jesus crucified? Was it for this that Daddy died? Was it you? Was it me? Did I watch too much TV? Is that a hint of accusation in your eyes? If it wasn't for the Nips being so good at building ships, the yards would still be open on the Clyde. Just some great lyrics from Waters that I think really send it, and the fact that it's more spoken, and then by the end sung, would you shout, would you scream, is this the of the post-war dream? It's a great song. It's greatly delivered. However, I think on this would have really been enhanced if Rick Wright was on keyboards. Not that the guy who's on keyboards, Michael Caine's, bad. I just think there's something about Rick Wright that could have brought more out of the song. Now on to song number 2 off this album, Your Possible Pasts, another well-written Roger Waters song. Absolutely 100%. Just, if there's one complaint I have about this song, is it has a good David Gilmour solo in it, but it could have been so much more. And I think that's what, on a lot of this album, I feel wanting is a little bit more that you just never really get from this song. Like, it's very weird when you look at it. Now on to song number 3, One of the Few. One of the Few is a song that's more of a filler song. It's a transition song. Now, this is where I came into a lot of hard parts about this song, is that if you got the 2004 reissue, it comes with When the Tigers Broke Free, which is a great song. This one didn't when it was originally released, and I think that's an absolute shame because that would have so helped this album a lot. Made it a little more easier to listen to at times, like, because when you build an album, you want to start off kind of mid-road, build it, or start at a high, build, 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 let down a little bit, and then build to the end. This album really, to me, this song, especially one of the few, when you're one of the few to land on your feet, how do you do to make ends meet and stuff. It's a good song, it's just filler. That's really all it is. Now, on this, it goes into the Hero's Return. This song really didn't do very much for me. I didn't care for it much. And that's putting it pretty mildly, I guess, is the best way to say how I felt about that song. I don't like it, I don't hate it, it's just there. On to the next song, however, is, in my opinion, one of the most criminally underrated Roger Waters songs ever. And that would be The Gunner's Dream, which is an absolute lyrical masterpiece from Waters. I love this song, and there is some lines in there. There's a whole verse in there I love. A place to stay, enough to eat. Somewhere old heroes, special sickly down the street, where you can speak out loud about your doubts and fears. And what's more, no one ever disappears. You never hear the kicking in your door. You can relax on both sides of the tracks, and maniacs don't blow holes in bandsmen by remote control. It's a great lines from Waters there that really, to me, show why he was such a great writer. And it's a shame that really Pink Floyd with Waters ended the way it did, because I think there was some potential there. But yeah, great song, great musicianship on this song. Some great, I believe, saxophone is on here. I also believe there might be a guitar solo. Can't quite remember. It's been a while since I've listened to it. It's a great album, really, or a great song off that album. Now on to the next song on this album. Paranoid Eyes. It's a good sort of ballady filler song, but to me, when you go from that High of the Gunner's Dream to Paranoid Eyes, it's just there. It's more of an acoustical ballad. You sing it in the pub song. It's just there. On to song number 7 off the album, Get Your Filthy Hands Off My Dessert. It's really a sort of a filler song into the next song, which is the Fletcher Memorial Home, which is once again another well-penned Roger Waters song. There's a reason that song is on a lot of best of Pink Floyd CDs. It is a really good song from Roger Waters. Get Your Filthy Hands Off Your Dessert, that talks about Margaret Thatcher, Brezhnev in Afghanistan, Beirut, and how the whole thought around war around this time is changing. How everyone's going to war. It really is Roger Waters around this time really taking a lot of political stances on this. More so than a lot of the other stuff, and a lot more blatantly he's taken a stand on that. But the Fletcher Memorial Home is an absolute great song. And there's a line in there where you can tell he's talking about dictators and politicians and everything, and how they love their toys, which at that time, especially watching, if you've ever seen the music video, it's a picture of Brezhnev, I believe, standing there with a nuclear bomb, and they're all like thinking of ways to kill. There's Hitler in it, there's Napoleon, all these most vile people in history, and it's like they're all fighting over the world, and it's really a well-worded song, and talks about Reagan in there. Just a very poignant Roger Waters political piece, and it has a great David Gilmour guitar solo. I think one of his great guitar solos on the album. Like, there's very few, but when you hear them, it's like, yeah, David Gilmour's still on point. He can still do it. On to the next song on the album. Southampton Dock. I like the song. It's an acoustical ballad. Not really much you can say about it because it's very short. I like how it sort of has that soft and then it builds at the end and then it leads into the title track, The Final Cut. Once again, another Roger Waters great pen song. The lyrics on the album are absolutely astounding, but the rest of the album, in terms of musicianship, it kind of falls flat a little bit compared, because when you're comparing Pink Floyd to Pink Floyd, you're comparing the absolute pinnacle of awesome. Even if they go middle of the road for most bands, that's like fucking amazing. But Pink Floyd, because their highs are so high, that some of these songs kind of get left in the wind. And The Final Cut to me feels once again like another song that kind of gets left out. But it is still a great song. Now on to the next song, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite songs off this album, is Not Now, John. It's the only song on the album to feature any ounce of David Gilmour's vocals. And it is probably the most upbeat song on the album. And it is, at this point, Pink Floyd's dropping F-bombs like they're going out of style. That's amazing. Like, this is the song that everyone's like, what the fuck? That's Pink Floyd? It's like, yeah, they're off shouting off the F-bomb whenever they can. And it really talked a lot about, I think, where the world was going. Like, lines like, fuck all that, we gotta get on with these. Gotta compete with the wily Japanese. There's too many home fires burning and not enough trees. It's very political in its approach, but it's very well done. And Gilmour's vocals really enhance it. But also underneath you have the Roger Waters, "Not now, John, I think there's something good on. I used to read books, but..." And it goes into this whole thing, and it starts with Waters really singing it really well. But the problem is, and features a great David Gilmour guitar solo on hand as well. The problem, though, with it is the fact that it's the only song to have David Gilmour's vocals on it, which means it makes me want them even more. And now on to the final song of the album, Two Suns in the Sunset. Another ballady Roger Waters song. It's kind of like riding off into the sunset. It's a good song. It's not bad. I like it. It's a great closer for an album. And after that, and it's 5 minutes, 14 seconds. The whole album in a nutshell is just over 40 minutes in length. So it's not like you're wasting a hell of a lot of time on it. But let's get into this. This album is, like I said, very decisive amongst Pink Floyd fans. Now, it came out later that the band had no intention of touring this album at all. And I think that was probably for the best. At the time, even though I would have loved to have seen Not Now, John performed live, because I think that's the one song off the album I think they could add to their stage. That and the Fletcher Memorial Home were the two songs off there. Maybe even if you want to break it up a little bit, The Gunner's Dream could be in there. But by this point, Pink Floyd was so done. You could tell that even after this, there was no reconciling Gilmour and Waters. After this, Gilmour goes off, does About Face, which is far from Pink Floyd's sound as he could get at the time, which was a very poppy commercial sound. And I did like that album. There's a couple songs off there I really like, Love on the Air and All Lovers Are Deranged. I liked off that, Murder. And Roger Waters went off and did actually the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, which was the other thought for the wall. Now, looking at this, what's the best song off the album? And that is, for me, a very hard question, because the highs are high. They're good. Not Now, John, for me, at this point, I'd say is really high up there. I'll even throw in The Gunner's Dream is there. And surprisingly, I'd probably throw in, if I Nah, I'll leave it there. Gunner's Dream and No John. Oh, and the Fletcher Memorial Home. I'll put that in there. Hidden gem off the album. Yeah, I'd say the Final Cut, the title track, is the hidden gem off the album. It's actually really good. Worst song off the album, I'd have to say The Hero's Return is the worst song on the album. Hard to put a worse song for Pink Floyd. What would be my grade out of 5? Now, this is hard for me because Pink Floyd, The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, Atom Heart Mother, Metal, Obscured by Clouds were such high benchmarks for Pink Floyd. I have to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Actually, no, I have to give this a 3 out of 5. Those benchmarks are so high that it sets the bar so high for perfect. 4 has some really damn good albums I like more than this. 3.5. If I gave The Wall about 3.5, I'd have to give this a 3 because I don't think it's as good as The Wall. The problem is Pink Floyd, about 30 years later, made the same mistake with The Division Bell and The Endless River that Pink Floyd made with The Wall and this, except this was a lot better, in my opinion. But anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions. Be sure to like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Give me your thoughts on this album. I'm really interested to hear it. As I said, it's a very divisive Pink Floyd issue, but now the next album I get a review is an even more divisive Pink Floyd album. Peace.